Thank you all for your boldness in telling the truth and getting the truth out there. I have worked tirelessly to get Iris's voice to the forefront about what happened to her, because she's a victim, not him, and my daughter as well. And I want them both to be safe too. And so I'm asking that people would share this information, that they would take what I'm going to share very seriously, and, especially put on pressure, public pressure. We're the people, we have a voice, right? And we can make them do a thorough investigation, because Iris will not be safe if she goes back with Anthony. And so, first, I want to start out with the fact that my daughter is 11 years younger than Anthony. And, when they met, at first, of course, things were all charming, and then all of a sudden, he turned into a total monster. And when she was pregnant with Iris, they lived at my house for a period of time, but I had to kick him out because of his continual drinking of whiskey. I'll call it that. And then his threats, his yelling, his aggression, that equates to what people know as DV. Try to be careful, because I know we're on TikTok, and I don't, this is
Okay.
my first time
You're
going live. So I actually called the law enforcement when things got really bad, and he had a weapon, and, tried to use it against, he had it like threatening my daughter. I'm not really sure why all of these things haven't been documented well. But when it comes to, I guess, victims of violence, this is just, again, the way the system fails. So anyway, while my daughter was pregnant, he did abuse her, and she ended up having Iris. And I, was there as a support. They kept going back and forth. As you guys know, this is the nature of those relationships. And ultimately, that culminated to, her trying to get away from him, which I totally understand. So I want to say, though, that in 2018, she was going to join the military, right? She was going to join the military. They had Iris, and the military recruiter told her that she could not join the military without giving him full custody. So she wrote a letter, and it stated that for the purposes of joining the military, and if she were deployed, XYZ kind of military stuff that they talked to her about, that he would have full custody of Iris. And that was basically what happened with the 2018 order. So I want to stop real quick, just in case you want to ask me more about that, what I just shared.
No, and I appreciate that. And for anyone again that is like, what is happening here? I'm not sure if you're not aware. There is a video that explains a little bit about it on the page on my page pinned at the top. Now, what she is saying is true. Dan, do you want to explain just a moment about that, how that works? Because I know you were saying earlier that you did understand that they do ask for this a lot of times when you're, going into the military.
Yes, they do that for the safety of the child, just in case something unfortunately may happen to the other person overseas, and they need a place for the child to have a safe environment. Or, well, I can't really say safe because of where she was at, but someone has to have custody of the child in case something happens overseas.
Right. So I just want people to understand that this is something that does happen. That is what she believed she was doing. She did not end up going into the military, but again, she believed that what she was signing and doing was only under these circumstances. Okay. So I just want to make that very clear. Go ahead, Christina.
So then, time passes on. And of course, with any kind of domestic violence situation, it escalates. Um, they weren't, from my understanding, for a period of time, we all weren't in contact with each other. Let me just say that. I don't know where he was. I don't know where she was in her living their adult lives. I, just continued to just be there as a grandma for my granddaughter whenever needed, right? So time went on, and in 2020, Kayla gets a custodial order, and she was essentially trying to get. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me let me go back.
Okay, so yeah, if you could explain basically what
2008.
happened as far as when he was supposed to be visiting her and
Right, right,
kind of how he obtained Iris at that time.
right. So we had made a rule that, and this was prior to with the abuse that continued to happen. We made a rule that basically, if you want to see Iris, you have to be surrounded by family. Kayla could never be alone with him visiting Iris, and he could never be alone with Iris. So it would be at my mom's house or some kind of mutual place, right? And so in 2019, there was a birthday party or some kind of a family event get together that we were going to, and I had Iris with me. She was visiting with me, of course, and my children. And I was gonna go, and Anthony contacted me and asked to see her, and I said, "Yeah, you can meet me at my mom's house." Well, he took her, and we didn't see her after that. Kayla went to court in Riverside to try to gain custody so that she could go and notify law enforcement of the fact that he didn't bring her back. And so, she had tried to contact law enforcement and ask for their help, and they told her over and over again, it's a civil matter. We don't get involved. You have to go to the court. They didn't see any orders, from my understanding, but it makes sense if you have orders in two different locations. Maybe it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm just, it's confusing to me. It's a complex web. So she gets a custody order in 2020 of sole full legal custody, tries to get that order enforced. No one would enforce it. She tries to go to where she knew Anthony was last. Nobody is there. Nobody answers the door. Nothing happens. And ultimately, she goes back to Tennessee. In 2023, I received a phone call from the school that Iris was attending because I was listed as an emergency contact. And the school notified me that Iris hadn't been picked up from school. Now, this was not the first time. I talked to the counselor, I talked to the teacher, I talked to the principal. And so in a hurry, I'm like, I will come and get my granddaughter even though I live 3 hours away. Please just hold on until I get there. They notified me that she had already been there over an hour and that they couldn't get in touch with Anthony. They had tried to text him, they had tried to call him. He was not answering his phone. They left him messages, and I was on the list. And so I started like blowing his phone up and texting him like, hey, if you don't go and get Iris right now, CPS is gonna get her, and then she's gonna end up in foster care. And let me just say this: they notified me that this is a reoccurring thing. That Iris is being abandoned at school. You're not picking her up. You're not answering their calls. You're not communicating with teachers. And this is not acceptable. So if you can't take care of her, I will take care of her. We can arrange for her to just come be with me. Okay. He never called me back that day. He called me back the next day saying, you know what? I do need help. I fall on hard times. I keep losing my jobs and I don't have any money. All of these things that were typical types of conversation. And I said, fine, let's meet. No problem. Let's meet halfway. You come halfway, I come halfway. It's an hour and a half for both of us. So we make arrangements through text message, which I have and I've shared with multiple people. We make those arrangements to meet halfway. I get Iris, and I bring her back to my house. She was